Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing good. So I'm trying to figure out new settings on Facebook and whatnot, because when I do live, normally I can save the video. I haven't been able to save the video, so I can't post my live video that I've already done on Facebook. So the only thing I can do is do a second video, but I've already done the video. The video is already on Facebook, which I didn't really understand. It's like VK. When I started doing VK, I do a live video on VK, you don't save it. So it just goes to VK. So the difference between Facebook, VK, and Twitch, you do a stream, it's live. I don't know if you can save it either. And then it fades off of Twitch. So you might get a clip, it might do part of your video, and then as the weeks or months go by, if you don't do more, or you do more, the older stuff drops off. So the older stuff drops off. And then if you haven't posted for like a year, 6 months, or 3 months, or whatever, a month or whatever, you don't have any content on Twitch. So you don't keep like a library on Twitch of what you've streamed. It's just a stream, like water in a stream, and it goes by. And you can see it for a little while. Facebook keeps all your stuff, and then you were allowed to download it and keep it with the Facebook app, and then you'd have a library. So if I wanted to do Facebook and then post it to YouTube, I could, but that somehow went away. So now when I post to Facebook, the last couple times I posted, I don't know if it's because I'm in Kirkland or I was with my parents. I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm with my parents. And then I thought, oh, because I'm in Kirkland, but I don't know. So I can't post to Facebook and keep my own video. It just goes to Facebook, which is better for cloud data and stuff like that, because the phone, whatever your device does, fills up fast, I guess. I mean, unless you keep buying more storage and you stream for longer periods of time. So, and then on VK, which is like Europe and Russia, I think it's mostly Russia, not Europe. Well, I mean, whatever you want to categorize that as, it's designed a little bit differently, so you don't keep it either. But I haven't figured that out totally, because I haven't streamed that much on VK. So I like Facebook because I can post on Facebook and then upload it to YouTube. But now I'm just doing a second video that I'll post to YouTube. And then YouTube to stream live is more difficult. You have to have a lot of subscribers to do live on YouTube, like 10,000 subscribers. So like when I was streaming with my daughter, she was like, click the subscribe button, subscribe. Because, or I thought it was 1,000, but maybe it was 10,000 or 1,000, I can't remember, to stream on YouTube. So I was like, by the time you get that many subscribers, you can't really do live. And then the people that I was watching on YouTube live, I can't access anymore because they're just like not there. Like they removed them from the live search. So you just have like rehashed news, like rerun news, and like rerun sports and rerun games, stuff like that. And then they have all the music. And I was like, well, what is the purpose of YouTube? Because it sounds like the purpose of YouTube was to just play music based on the live stream that I see. And then you say, well, how does news get compartmented into music? And you say, well, the segments have music. So at the beginning of the news broadcast, there's a music. And then when the segment changes, there's music. So the purpose of news is for the segment music. And then you can categorize everything and say, well, news has music. And then there's, the music channels where it's like an animated photo and then like music in the back, like lo-fi or like, down tempo or whatever. And then the other purpose is for kids music, because a lot of times I get like the kids cartoon, like toy, like play with these or these, kids cartoon toys type stuff or animated cartoons. but then it's just music. And so you get a lot of those on live, and it's like, you know, it's not really live people talking or like, you know, somebody posting live. It's like pre-recorded that then they say is live, which I don't even want to get into that talk over and over and over again, whether it's delay or 7-minute delay, 4-hour delay, 12-hour delay, you know, 6-month delay or whatever. So I was like, well, maybe YouTube has like redefined themselves as a music platform. But then there's YouTube Music, which I haven't really accessed. So anyway, my live channel, all the people that I used to watch, and they were scattered mostly. There wasn't really anyone that I watch regularly live. They don't pop up anymore, so I don't see any of them. So once in a while, if I remember a name, a username or something, you know, a channel name, I can find it. But pretty much YouTube is all past anyway. Past video anyway, like the Vlog Squad stuff, they edit and they put all this stuff in, and like then that shifts into the short video and the TikTok and stuff. So it's like the same conversation I had like a year ago or so, or 2 years ago when this happened. But either way, you know, I just, you know, I'll just end up redoing the video, or which you can't actually do anyway, you know, because I won't say the same things. It won't be in the same place. The seconds will be gone, you know, that type of deal. So anyhow, so I'm just gonna, you know, just do a video for YouTube then. So now I will do different videos for YouTube than Facebook, instead of remembering the videos I have on Facebook, because Facebook doesn't do a great job of remembering videos. They did the whole timeline thing like 10 years ago. They did the timeline. They shifted over and they said Facebook's doing a timeline. And then people like, oh, I'm deleting this stuff from my timeline because I don't want to see it anymore. And then everybody got new Facebook profiles. They had to redo their own profiles. And then I have an old Facebook profile that had all these pictures. Then I deleted all these pictures. Then I did all these videos, and I deleted some of the videos. But I don't have access to that anymore. So I don't think I have access to it anymore. So, and when you try to scroll on the timeline, it's the worst is Twitter, because Twitter puts all these ads in, and then they cut out the tweets, and then they add other people's tweets or whatever they want. So you don't really have any ideas like, what have I actually posted to this social website and social app? I have no idea. You can go to tweets and replies, but the way Twitter is categorized is like you can never figure out which conversation there is. So it's always like, it's not random, it's not scattered, it's dispersion, you know, horizontal dispersion. And so, you know, sometimes you can scroll through and say, what did I post or whatever. But I mean, it becomes really difficult. And then Facebook is a little bit the same, but the timeline becomes so like difficult to scroll through. You can't actually see like, oh, I posted this video. So when you go onto YouTube and you look at, you know, your videos or whatever, it's the square boxes. So you see these are the square boxes, and then I can look at it and see, you know, what I've actually posted or whatnot, which is a little bit better organized. So that's why you initially, one of the attractions to posting live on Facebook is saving the video and uploading it to YouTube, which I think a lot of people do. I don't know, or maybe they edit, something like that. So. So then the other thing I was thinking of is there's other websites or apps which then post one video to all the sites. It becomes an app of an app and an app type thing, which I don't want to do either. It's just too much time, and you probably have to pay, you know, $500 a month or something to stream to all your sites. Because some of the streamers, you know, they have like 3 different websites they stream to, and they just have one video feed that they're live from, and then it goes to 4 different websites or 3 different websites as live. Because between Europe and the US, you know, I know there's like Streamlabs, there's Prism, there's Twitch, there's another like You or something like You, I don't know what the name of it is. And so you see the logos and stuff, and you're like, oh, somebody's in Europe or Asia. They're going to stream to their platform and then the Europe platform, and then the US platform that they use. And so, but they need some type of a collaboration app or something that just, distributes it to the 4 different, streaming sites or whatnot. So, I don't know. It just ends up being a little bit much. So right now, I'm just posting a second video. So. Thinking about Fish, the band. I think they played in the Gorge at the end of the August. And I thought, I didn't, I don't hear about that stuff as much as I used to. What bands are playing or where they're playing. When I moved to New York, everything like that shift. I did end up going to I don't actually remember the name. It was members of the Grateful Dead, and then a guy that was singing for them. I went to the Best Buy Theater, which was small in Times Square in New York, and it was a lot of fun. But I didn't hear about all that as much. I don't know, everything went through like a change, I guess. I mean, it was like, I don't hear about that. Not that I was supposed to hear about it, it's just I didn't follow it as much. You graduate high school and then you're in college and things shift a bit, and then it's like, basically it was 2003. That's what it was. I went from like, being a hopeful college graduate, and then being like, I really am going to graduate, and then I'm going to move to New York City, and everything changed. The winter of 2003, it was just like, I was not going to be the same after that. And it was great at the beginning because I would sit and have coffee like this and like read, because at college I could read the New York Times. We had to have a subscription for a finance class. It was like partial optional, part not, because a lot of professors, people that teach them professor style, even in high school stuff, they wanted you to read the news. And so there was like a push of some of my teachers and professors to read the news, and then you would talk about current events at part of class, or maybe there would be a quiz question or a quiz about the news or something. So in high school I had a teacher, and he would read us, or he'd want us to read like Newsweek, and so you could read Newsweek, and then Newsweek had, My Turn in Newsweek, and then it had like the current events or whatever. And so some teachers would say, let's read about this and see what this person says, because it was an editorial. I guess if you were to try to teach students the difference between postal news and editorials was the author's viewpoint that had to do with the news and events, whereas postal news was supposed to be, facts with little to no opinion. And then in the New York Times they have opinion section. So when I was graduating school, went back to finish, I didn't know I could before, because my life was so frantic, chaotic, teaching tennis, running around, all that junk I've talked about before. It sort of went from this high school, let's dance and go to dance parties and hippie type of concerts like the Grateful Dead and Fish. And then figure out a better way to live freely and feel better, right? It was part of vegan and vegetarian, and if meat makes you angry, don't eat meat, and the herbal type of thing, right? You didn't have the legalization of the medical marijuana. So there was fronts about stopping that, if it's a plant, we should be able to smoke it, that type of thing. And so, you had those, I don't know if you want to call them movements or whatnot. And then, I had my whole thing, right? I had to go to Iowa, right? How was I going to go to Iowa? And that's all in the background, right? You don't think about that, right? It's like these guys in the NFL that are going to kick the 60-yard field goal. They're trying to kick a 60-yard field goal. Well, they don't think about it every day. It's not like you say, on the third week of the season, we're going to pass out wide, we're going to run 10 yards, and then boom, we're going to hit fourth down, and we're going to kick a 60-yard field goal, right? But it's there, right? It's in the back. Whether it's going to happen or not. And so that was the same thing, but I just had a heavy, chaotic schedule as a young adult, out of my teens into my 20s. And so when you put everything in that platform, right, you're like, well, you drink or you smoke or whatever because you have that thing that's going to happen, and then it's either going to be a success or not. And so, everything before that is whether it's going to be a success, but you don't have any plan if it's not. I mean, there is a plan, or there's a very, for me, it was a very fast and short end, but it would have been bad for, people that I was related to and stuff like that. So you really just kind of had to deal with that. But I didn't, because you don't have time. You're just like doing stuff. So the point I'm saying is like following Fish, following the Grateful Dead, going to those concerts was everything before that. And then once everything happened, everything changed so fast, and I could actually sit and read the New York Times and like think, oh, I'm going to go work in finance or whatever. And I'm going to, work at a job in an office in a city and buy an apartment or rent an apartment, and my whole life was going to change. And it does in a way, but like the whole grand scheme of things, right? I didn't, eventual disability and stuff like that wasn't really there because as an infant, it hadn't occurred either. So I didn't get disability as an infant. So I just said, I'm just going to keep, working and stuff. But then shortly after that, I would get sick and I couldn't run. My weight kind of gained. I said that this weight's not going to come off, So, what really was I going to do long term? And then as there was, I guess, anger and resentment for bad planning. I don't want to say poor planning, just say bad planning, right? A lot of people had planned for things to be bad, and that wasn't true. There was a lot of anger directed at me from internal, point groups. And so, it was like, well, you're going to be sick all the time, or you're not going to be able to go to these events, or, you're not going to just be disabled, basically, which took another 16 years. So, and relationships, right? You lose like some of these contact relationships, a lot of them really. And so it becomes difficult, even difficult for people you want to share with and talk to. So that's why you sort of fade on some of this music and stuff you want to listen to, or these concerts and stuff. And then when you try to go back to it, you can't really get back to like, oh, that was cool again. Part of the reason because you're older, but the other part of the reason is because you've been separated from it, not directly, right? I mean, some of the stuff you get separated from it directly, or there's a bad incident, right? It's like somebody throws the cake, it explodes everywhere. You're like, every time I think of going there, I get cake in my toes. Let's not really, do that, right? So that's sort of the problem. So they did play in the Gorge, I guess, in August, and I didn't hear whether there's a good concert or not. So maybe hopefully eventually they'll release the tapes. As they used to say, the vault, the Grateful Dead vault, the Fish vault, these guys that would go and record the concerts and then get, awesome sound on the tapes. But everything done now is digital, you got the CDs and the radio and, back then the FM broadcast was some of the best. I mean, Radio City Music Hall on an FM broadcast, it sounded so clear on the tapes. And then you had the DAT, the digital audio tape recorders, and it's quieter, and the people talking and stuff. I mean, that was a lot of fun. So now do they release it on their own disc? That's like Pearl Jam was so good with that, because they just were pumping out these small CDs, because I guess Eddie Vedder and them didn't agree with the pollution of the jewel boxes. If I read that correctly, they did not agree with the pollution of the jewel boxes, the jewel cases. So they were releasing CDs and sleeves. And then they released CDs and sleeves, but they did all the concerts. And they have a pretty big collection of CDs in sleeves from concerts. And so if you like Pearl Jam, they have a lot of collection of that too. It's almost like they found a better niche because they didn't have the, I don't want to say colloquial discussion of their concerts like Grateful Dead and Fish. You know, Grateful Dead seemed to be, you know, historically that colloquial talking about the Dead and the members of the band and whether people recorded or didn't record and what the old tapes sounded like, what the new tapes sounded like. And then Fish almost was like an extension of that with more randomized lyrics and, you know, more jazzy bass, you know, funky type of stuff. You know, like Wolfman's Brother type stuff like that. And Chalk Dust Torture and, you know, Lawn Boy albums, stuff like that. So, you know, when you got to like Pearl Jam, they're like, well, they're, you know, rock and roll grunge, you know, as from Seattle, but they ended up releasing a lot of concerts in those cardboard or paper sleeves, basically cardboard sleeves with a design or something and a concert. And of course now I've, you know, I had a couple of them, not a lot of them, but now, you know, I've sort of moved so many times, I don't have any of those either. So anyway, I'm going to end there. I hope you're doing good, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.